Hello. Welcome
This
to the
is
Elder
the,
Nerds, episode 10. Oh my god, it's episode 10. And I'm here with original collaborator Patrick, and
What's up, guy?
nothing much. And it's going to be a little odd show tonight. There's no Pete, and Mike Delapine
Late?
will be joining us late in about a half hour. So, and Mike wants to talk about the big comic controversy this week, so we'll wait for him. But until then, it'll just be me and Patrick for a while, just bullshitting and about things going on this week. So, Pat, you've been more up to date than I am this past week. You got some comics. What do you want to talk about?
Wait, I just want to look at the movie news for comics. I go to comicmovies.com and Sphere Hype. Carrie Fisher appears more on these sites now that she's dead than she did when she was.
I know. I know when she died, it's like everybody made it's like a real life princess died. Look, all right.
Yeah, you weren't there when she was freaking face down and puke, asking to do more Speedballs.
You know, that I was going to put that on my Facebook feed, but I changed my mind. I was going to say, Carrie Fisher's only real accomplishment other than Star Wars is snorting cocaine with John Belushi the night before he died.
No, she did. Her books are very funny. I heard. I read a couple of bits of them. She was clever.
Yes. Okay, her books were popular or whatever, or bestsellers. I know somebody that read some of them, and she was a script doctor, but it's not like. It's like, I mean, her books were all about her and her bipolar and her life in Hollywood. Those books are like a dime a dozen. I'm sorry. Like when David Bowie passed, that really affected me. For everything that David Bowie stood for.
It affected me because then he would never be able to play Elric.
Him playing Elric? Wow.
That for the longest time, he was the only one I pictured.
Nice. That's a good choice.
As soon as I read, when I started reading Elric back in high school, I was like, wow, I think it would be David Bowie. And I had just seen, what was the one, the Japanese prison camp one? Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence?
Yeah, that was a good one.
And that was very good, and he was excellent in it. And I thought, okay, he's the guy.
Yeah.
And that was when, Hollywood was looking for, it was after Conan. So they were looking for the next Sword and Sandal kind of thing.
Right. Huh, that would have been a good choice. But, to me, it's not apples and oranges with Bowie and Carrie Fisher, but, Bowie was a singer, an actor, an activist. He was also into the arts. He hung around with Andy Warhol and Basquiat and all that. Carrie Fisher...
Supermodels.
Yeah, but he did a lot. He was, he was also, like a very much a role model. Well, so was Carrie Fisher, but David Bowie was, I think, more of a role model for troubled, teens and people who were afraid of androgynous people in the closet, more than Carrie Fisher was. Even though,
I can see why now that you say that, I can see why you idolize him so much.
Yeah, because Bowie was the man, more or less. No, Bowie was the best. But, I just felt like he just did more as a well-rounded entertainer than Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher did the Star Wars movies, did some coke, and then kind of
the rainbow.
And then disappeared. But then,
the rainbow.
She may have had some mental problems, which is understandable, but it was like... it wasn't like she was out there,
Now that you say that, I'm not sure why you're not idolizing her.
Because she killed John Belushi, that's why. What was it? It was Robin Williams that was the last one to see him alive, I think. I remember.
I'm just like, that guy was... Oof, oh, man.
So all these tributes to Carrie Fisher, I understand, but again, it's people going overboard on, a simple tribute.
I feel like, the 24-hour news cycle in the real news, it's that way in geek news now, too, because there's so many sites there's so many things like this superhero hype. They have to come up with like 5, 6 things every day, and it's like you don't have to come up with 5 or 6 things every day.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. I
I
felt
mean,
that way
they're
too.
reporting on Archie. They're reporting on Archie's Riverdale. Like your name is superhero hype, not comic book hype. You're reporting on a CW soap opera, which is fine, mind you, but you're stuffing the ballots.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree with you. It's not only the professional sites. So then there's also the fanboys with their own sites
Right,
like us
right.
doing this fucking nonsense. And it's just
Channels.
yeah. So it just gets to be too much. It's just it really is. It's funny when you think, oh, only 250,000 or so people collect comics, but yet it looks like everybody who collects comics has a website or a blog or a vlog or something or a podcast.
Yeah, I said that at least 10 years ago. I said there was more comic book media than there are comic book fans.
Yes. Oh, yes. I totally believe that. Yeah, even as far back as 10 years, you could notice it. Yeah. I mean, and a lot of comic book sites have closed down over the years. Journalism sites, whatnot. But
I was really surprised Comics Alliance shut down.
I know, right? That was
took me right out of the, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, because they were pretty big, and they had, big presence and all that, and they were written up all over the place. But yeah, once these big media companies start buying up smaller media companies, they got to trim the fat, and they got to look a way to cut something that make profit. It's sad. It really is sad. And
CBR is just pure clickbait.
Yeah, and it's all just PR. It's all just
15
PR analysis.
Marvel supervillains who need their own MCU Netflix show.
Yeah, I that always cracks me up. It's like, yeah, why? Why must they have a show?
15 comic book movies that deserve reboots.
Yeah, why? Why do these people need their own TV show? What are they going to bring to the table that the iconic superheroes of the last 50
the 15
years?
greatest evil versions of superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
You are BuzzFeed.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of sad in a way. It's like, now that geekdom has become acceptable, it's become... You see a lot more crap being produced than quality, it feels like.
In terms of, the TV shows, or just in terms of the reporting of it?
The reporting of it, the fandom of it.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I felt like, and I felt this too, when and we really haven't gotten to the crux of how geek culture became so big in pop culture. But I almost felt like every time one of it happened, like every TV show, every movie, whatever, it's almost like we as a comic book geek community went to see, and about, look, you like us? You like us now? Validate us.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, why would you want? And I was like,
why would you want
the normies to validate me?
Yeah, exactly. Why do you want to?
Yeah. What are they? They're watching bad horror movies that that got produced for $3 million and crappy rom-coms.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. It's something like what's going on with Howard Stern. It's like, for years, Howard Stern was very popular because he was like the geek on the outside making fun of, the
right.
inner circle. And now that over the last few years, he's become so rich and powerful, he's hanging out with the people he used to make fun of years ago. And he's totally changed his show when he got on XM, where it's now more of an interview show, not a comedy show.
Yeah, well, I never thought it was a comedy show. I was never a Howard Stern fan.
Right.
Howard Stern, especially in the beginning when he first started, when he first got to K-Rock, I guess, it was like, they would do a bit, and it would be like 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes long, and for the next 2 hours, how'd you like that bit? What did you think? What'd you think of that bit?
Well,
he would fall up, and he would be like, But, I mean, I think right away he got very popular. He got some, since the 80s, he's been having some pretty, high-level guests.
Oh, yeah, but what I'm saying is he's become what he's made fun of.
Which I was watching... I was watching the Artie and somebody else, and they're really like all the old Howard guys. Seems like they're like just like I don't know what the hell happened. He doesn't even talk to us anymore.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, back in the day, he would make fun of those type of people that were like thought they were too good for like someone like Artie Lang, a celebrity, and now he's become that celebrity that doesn't talk to Gilbert anymore, doesn't talk to Artie anymore. He's re-edited all his old episodes where he's
has he really? Wow.
he's taken out all of the Gilbert curses. He's taken out all the derogatory names. For what reason, I don't know. It's not like he's going to sell these things in syndication to, like, you know, who wants to hear a 20-year-old Howard Stern interview with Gilbert Gottfried except for Howard Stern fans, you know? So he's done that where instead of, like, he used to have a character on the show called like Eric the Retard. And now he's re-edited it, and now it's like Eric the Slow Learner or something. You know, it's like... So he's doing a bit of revisionist history.
What about Beetlejuice, whatever his name was?
Yeah, Beetlejuice. But it just feels like he's doing revisionist history now because now he's part of that circle that's accepted by society.
When he does interviews, he doesn't ask them like all those lascivious questions.
No, well, maybe one or two, but not like in the past. Now it's like a straight-on celebrity interview. Like
I could see that. I mean, the guy's how old is he now? 58?
60-something. 60.
Oh, so there you go, man. You know, he can't be a 20-something-year-old misanthrope forever.
Yeah, well, hey, Don Rickles did it till he was 90.
No, but Don Rickles was different. He didn't come across as like sort of that guy.
No, I don't mean him as a misanthrope, but he did his act till his dying day. You know, he didn't change for anyone. You know,
I don't know why FM Talk did not take off, and one of the reasons that didn't was I was an Opie and Anthony fan and a Ron and Fez fan, and there was a lot of tension between the two of them, and Howard didn't want them on K-Rock. If they had moved all those talk guys from 1027 over, or Howard over, and they had them all on the same channel, I think it would have taken off. But I think they doomed it as soon as they tried to placate both of them.
Huh.
When O&A were coming up, Howard was like, no, they can't do this, they can't do that.
I remember that.
And they were the young, hungry guys, but now they're done.
Yeah, that's right, because I never found O&A funny at all.
Really, I thought they were.
I
never found Howard funny, and I found them hilarious.
Wow, I'm the exact opposite. I never found Ron and Fez funny. I thought Opie and Anthony, when I tried listening to them in the morning after they took over for Howard when he bolted for XM, I thought, these guys are not funny. They brought in a lot of comedians, but I think they basically, to me, felt like they were more straight men. And so they let the comics just do their act, or just, the comedians were funnier than them.
But if you look at all those guys they brought up in the 90s, all those guys are big guys now. Bill Burr, Louis C.K.,
Patrice, I was thinking of that, yeah.
Yeah, like, they really had good taste in stand-up comics.
Yeah, they did, but I just felt like there was no back and forth with them. I felt those guys were more of a blank slate to let the comedians do their thing. I mean, every once in a while they said something funny, but it wasn't like I laughed more at the Stern Show because it was just pure chaos. I thought he was making fun.
I didn't think that at all. I thought Jackie the Joke Man was never funny a day in his life.
And that was the joke. I think that was the joke. You had an unfunny guy calling himself the Joke Man.
The only part I liked ever was when Robin and him had the.
Yeah, I mean, him.
Then you saw Little Howard's wit, Little Howard's intelligence. Other than that, I just thought he was just like, I don't know, just dumb.
Oh, see, I give you, the news was probably the best part of the show, commenting on the news, but oh man, the other stuff, the interactions I thought with the comedians, with the weirdos, and with his on-staff crew was just hysterical, because that was it. It was like Jackie the Joke Man wasn't funny as a comedian, but he was just funny as a concept of this unfunny guy calling himself the Joke Man, who helped Eddie Murphy and all these like comics out in Long Island. He helped them with their careers a little bit, or get their start, and then they just like once they hit it big, they just told them, F you, goodbye. And then when they would come on the show to be interviewed, they would bring up that subject, and then it got like uncomfortable and funny, and like more.
Yeah, I was never into creepy.
Oh, I thought so. I loved it. I thought it was hysterical because, like I said, he was the outsider making fun of the cool kids, which is what I could relate to, and I think that's why he related to a lot of people.
Yeah, I can never relate to
that. because you're not even an outsider. You're an animal. You can't even relate to an outsider.
And even like when he had a show on Channel 9, I didn't think it was funny.
Oh Jesus, the Channel 9 show, yeah, that was oof. I give you that when his live shows. Yeah, I give you that the Channel 9 shows and his live some of his live Channel 2 or even his pay-per-view shows, I didn't think were that great.
Buddy of mine produced his which one? The Miss Howard Stern one.
You're kidding?
No.
Really? That pay-per-view? Wow.
Yeah, Main Events produced that.
Oh wow! Did he get to hang with them or?
Oh yeah, my buddies were backstage. I don't remember any of the stories. So.
You don't want to tell any of the stories, you bad bastard.
I'll just say there's a lot of nudity.
Yeah, of course, and I'm sure there were other things too, the recreational things we making fun of. But I mean, that's the way geekdom has become. It's become so successful that it's no longer us against them. It's like we're with them.
Oh, that's what I wanted to do a show on that. One of the things I was kept thinking during the week, gatekeeping. How all of a sudden we're these obnoxious gatekeepers trying to keep fangirls out or whoever out, and I do think there's some truth to that.
Yes. Yeah.
But, like my family had Giants tickets for I don't know how long. I had Giant seats for 17 years, I think it was. And whenever somebody brought a significant other, they had to answer a quiz about the Giants' offensive line. They had to name everybody on the Giants' offensive line.
What is that? That's like from that movie from Barry Levinson.
Really?
With the Baltimore Colts. You never saw that?
No.
Oh, what was it? Diner. You never saw Diner with
Oh yeah, I saw Diner.
But remember, like what's his name?
Yeah.
The tall guy, the character actor. Oh, jeez, I forget his name. Remember, he was going to marry the girl, and she had to answer a quiz about the Baltimore Colts.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember that. But Dinah was Mickey Rourke,
Paul Reiser.
Paul
Reiser, Mickey Rourke. Who else did you say?
What's his name? I'm thinking Daniel Stern. Was he in that?
Yes, that's who I'm thinking of. Daniel Stern's the one that quizzed his fiancée about the Baltimore Colts in order to marry her. I mean,
it wasn't a marriage, just to show up, to get a ticket. They get a free ticket.
But I never heard that ever.
Daniel Stern, Mickey Rourke, Kevin Bacon. I forgot Tim Daly. Wow.
Oh, and what's his name? Steve Guttenberg.
I'm looking at IMDb. Of course, Steve Guttenberg wouldn't be on the front page. He'd have to go deep. Oh, yeah, there he is. Eddie Simmons, yeah. What's his name? Michael Tucker was in that, too. And Ellen Barkin and Tim Daly.
Yeah, Tim Daly, Ellen Barkin. I don't remember Michael Tucker, but yeah. But that was like a classic scene where, it's like quiz someone over your passion in order to be accepted. But I give you that with the gatekeepers. They are a-holes where they want to keep it as the all boys club, more or less.
Not only that, I think it's, like when we were coming up, like in high school, I never let anybody know I was reading fantasy books and reading comics or anything like that.
Really? I did. I did, because I didn't.
Any of the girls I knew, I would never have had the girlfriends I did.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Then you're pandering. I didn't give a shit.
You would, when you chatted up a girl, you go, she goes, she wants to know. He says, I just read this great issue of Spider-Man.
Yeah. I didn't give a shit what people thought. I liked what I liked. I didn't give a shit. Honestly, I didn't give a shit what people thought. If you liked it, fine. If you didn't, fine. And if you're going to judge me on that, go fuck yourself. Seriously, you should judge people by how they treat other people, not by what they fucking read.
No, I'll judge you how I want.
Unless you're reading Mein Kampf, then I'll give you props. You know, no, I'm like, yeah. But yeah, fuck. What do I care?
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Oh, I totally know what you're saying. Yeah.
You know, have you ever kissed a girl? You know, the Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah.
Or Revenge of the Nerds, or why would Ashton Kutcher have a show called The Beauty and the Geeks if that wasn't a juxtaposition? If the geeks weren't, in my lifetime, geeks were the guys that didn't get invited to parties. They weren't the ones the girls went out with. That kind of thing.
Exactly.
So, now all of a sudden everybody wants to come to our parties. People are like, wait a second.
Yeah, the gatekeeper.
What the hell was I doing in 7-Eleven's parking lot for the past 10 years by myself on Saturday night?
Circle jerk? I don't know, I guess.
But it's a weird thing.
It is a weird, yes.
But just relax. So what? Some guy wants to know if you know who
yeah,
are.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not. Don't care what he thinks.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Somebody said it a while ago. It's like, for a bunch of people that read heroic stories and look to Superman or Spider-Man as like, some people they idolize. There's a lot of pettiness and bickering and backstabbing in the geek community, Like you just said, like you have this gatekeeper who's like, you didn't let me into your club 20 years ago, so I'm not letting you into mine. And it's like, well, if you read Superman, you should know that Superman is not a judgmental prick, and he,
right.
It's like he would let people into the, that. It just seems like, these gatekeepers just aren't learning the lessons of the books they're reading.
Yeah, but I think gatekeeping happens in any community.
But again, that's then again in any community, yes. But when you're a geek and you're reading Superman for 20 years and how he treats people, and now you're like just going by basic human pettiness to like. So then, what's the point of reading
that's
Superman?
True. I mean, yeah, I don't get it. Like you saw one Marvel movie and now you're an Ant-Man fan.
Yeah,
that's it. You're an Ant-Man fan. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
you don't have to go read every feud with Egghead to be an Ant-Man fan.
Right. Yeah. And believe me, we know people who don't read the comics at all, but will collect merchandise and everything else related to superheroes, but the comic. So it's fine. It's like fine. You don't want to read the comic, fine. The only
but do you
the
think
retail
there's an
owners.
excessive amount of gatekeeping in the comic community?
Yes, there is. There is.
Even though really, you think so? More than anything else, more than Yankee fans.
Oh hell yes. Hell yes. For the reasons we described. Like I said, for 20 years you were an outcast, and comics were your only, or geekdom in general was your only fallback option. And now that you're kind of accepted by the norms, you're kind of still being petty and resentful. While I think Star Wars, Yankee fans will just be like, you've been to baseball stadiums. I don't know if you've been to Yankee Stadium because you're a god-awful Met fan. But, you go to Yankee Stadium, you'll see people in Boston Red Sox caps. You'll see people, Pittsburgh Pirate caps, and there's always yelling and arguing. And, granted, there's a small group of a-holes that'll let it escalate. But for the most part...
Or on your Rolodex?
Yeah, on my Rolodex, yeah. But for the most part, it's just... I think being a sports fan is much more welcoming as a whole to people trying to learn something and get into the crowd than comic book fans or geekdom fans in general.
Go see the Rangers at the Flyers and tell me that.
Well, we all know Philadelphia Flyer fans are animals. But I mean...
Said it, I think it was Sid on FAN said there's nothing filthier than a Philadelphia Flyers fan. I will always love Sid for that.
Awesome. But you've seen Islander fans at Madison Square Garden and vice versa. Now, yeah, a lot of fans, again, we're, the small group of a-holes that escalate things. But for the most part, I think it's much more inviting. Really, you could go to a bar
I
and
don't know, honestly, my last years at the going to the Giants before their new stadium, it was getting kind of dicky. There were a lot more fights. I'm like, it's a freaking game that you're not even
Exactly.
playing. What are you mad at?
Exactly. I don't know if it's fans being dickier or just society as a whole is being more dickish than ever.
No, I think alcohol had a lot to do with it.
Oh, of course.
Those knuckleheads would show up to a 4:00 Giant game at 10:00 in the morning.
10 o'clock. I knew people that would start tailgating at 8. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
and start drinking.
10:00 in the morning, they start drinking.
Yeah. Oh, I give you that. Oh, hell yeah. But I mean, you could go to a bar and have a giant Dallas Cowboy fan talk to each other and not have things escalate.
Hell no.
Yeah, you can.
I won't.
You, Mr. Captain America fan, would not accept a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Turning my back on America's team.
Yes, Steve believes in the dream and all that the dream represents, and you would turn your back on a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Anybody who believes in something.
You're a disgrace. You're a disgrace. I mean, I'm talking to you, and you're a godless Met fan. And I'm the superior Yankee fan.
Well, see how superior you are.
Oh wow! So the Mets are on a 5-game winning streak, and all of a sudden they think they own the town.
April's preseason.
But what do
you get way too excited? That's another thing.
What do Met fans?
Everybody gets way too excited about April.
Because April represents hope. April is the beginning where everybody has a clean slate, and there is nothing on earth. I don't care what sport you play. There is nothing on earth better than going to a stadium on opening day, on a nice clear day, and the grass is green and the lines are bright white, and there's nothing like looking at that for the first time after 6 months of
49 degrees.
of gray. Yeah, but if the sun's out, it doesn't matter. But after 6 months of gray,
2 hours, you're sitting there, and you got 5 mornings to go.
Yep, that's awesome. Opening day is better than anything else on earth. Oh, and you Met fans, you Met fans, you've had 4 good years out of 55, and you think like your franchise is like an elite franchise.
No, we don't. I don't think my franchise is an elite franchise. It's a great franchise, even a good one. But I'm not evil.
When did winning become evil? Doesn't everybody want to? Doesn't everybody want to win?
Just the fans.
No, it's not the fans. It's the embodiment of the whole idea. Winning every year. Put a winning team on the field every year, or try to. But God, even when the Mets suck, you're like, oh, wait till next year. Everybody roots for the underdog. Nobody roots for the underdog anymore. Everybody hates the underdog. The Mets are in the largest market in America, sports-wise, and they still act like they're a second-class citizens.
And hence the evilness.
But am I wrong? Am I telling the truth? Am I wrong?
Mets are second-class citizens. They came in later. Yankees have been here for what, 70 years? No, over 70 years.
100 plus, buddy.
Yeah, and the Mets have been here since, what, 63?
62, 63.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're Johnny come lately, so you got that.
But it was a National League town because of the Dodgers and Giants. Like I said, everybody used to root for the underdog. That seems to...
high, mucky evil guys would go to the Yankee game.
Yep. Winners, baby.
Then they would go home and think, how can I crush somebody's hope today?
By beating them.
No, I'm talking about in their personal lives. Like, tell their maid, by the way, I've just cut your salary to Dickensian levels. Carry on.
Where the hell did you come up with that analogy?
That's every Yankee fan's dream.
Yes, yeah. Yes, because every Yankee fan wants to be Scrooge. Yes. Yes, and take away their Christmas turkey.
But did you ever hear Bill Burr's rant on New York sports?
That was
This is a great quote.
that was fucking funny.
I think it's true. I mean, the only ones that really can really say are the Yankees and the Giants are really the only two teams. The Yankees definitely. The Yankees are the premium crop of Major League Baseball of any sports franchise. But and the Giants are up there. You know what I mean? They're competing with.
Yeah.
But the
Yes.
Mets, no. The Rangers, no. Islanders, no. I don't. You're not. Would you include the Devils? The Devils, I would say, yeah, the Devils got a pretty good franchise for a while.
But yeah, you know, even though they're part of the tri-state teams, no one really counts them as a New York City area team. You know,
they're you know, that's really surprising. My nephew lives in Jersey, plays hockey, and he's a Ranger fan.
Yeah.
And he grew up during all those great Devil teams.
Yeah, I don't get that. You know, the Devils have been in Jersey since '82, so it's not like
And they have
it's 30 years. It's it's 30 years plus. It's like
it's a lifetime.
They've won like 3 out of the last 10. They won 3 out of 10 years. It's like that's a dynasty. That's really damn good.
The best goalkeeper in sports for how long?
Yeah, the greatest goalie of all time, you could say. You know,
they have a nice rock. The state built them a nice thing in Newark.
Oh yeah.
They protect that. They have a nice home.
Yeah, I just never got why they were just never embraced.
Yeah,
you know. See, I think the thing is, especially with like Yankees and Giants, those are old organizations, but they've also had winning traditions. But even when the Yankees like sucked for like 15 plus years, at one point, and the Giants sucked from like 64 to 83, 84 before Parcells. I mean, even though they sucked and they moved to Jersey or whatever, the Giants. You always sense that there was still a winning tradition with these clubs, even on down years, and that they're going to bounce back. But something like the Jets.
See, I grew up. I came in when the Giants sucked.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But that's because
my father's sitting there going, "You steps, Tucker, you steps."
Yeah, but like I said, they've always had a history of winning, and they always were like an elite franchise. While the Jets, like if the Jets have a bad year, you just know it's going to be even 10 years before they even do anything resembling anything good.
Yeah, but when we were kids, Broadway Joe, there were two, the big sports figures, when we were kids were Joe Namath, O.J. Simpson, and Muhammad Ali.
Yes, yeah. But Joe Namath was basically one and done.
I understand that, but still, he just seemed like a much bigger figure than anybody on the Giants that I could even think of.
At that time, yeah, because all the old guard was like Meredith and Tittle.
Guest star on an episode of Brady Bunch.
Yeah. Oh, because Joe Namath was the flavor of the month, yeah. But I mean, Joe Namath really had just like one good year.
Yeah.
He had
a couple, but I mean, that is neat.
Yeah. And nobody. But I mean, it's like, and then look, the Jets have never recovered from that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. Like, that's right. It just mind boggles me, and I guess that's what makes a good GM worth the win goal. Like, how they not have one Super Bowl since then?
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing with the Islanders. They won 4 in a row in the early '80s, and that I think the '84 team was voted like the greatest hockey team of all time. And then they just fell off a cliff when Edmonton came around. And look, since '84, the Islanders have been to what? Like maybe 3 playoffs since '84? And it's like, you guys were the most elite franchise in all of hockey for 4 years. And why
you get eliminated from a contention where they play 70 games to eliminate, the Calgary Flames.
Yeah. And it's like why did it take you like 30 years to bounce back? Like, it's like, I don't get it. I don't understand those franchises,
Yeah.
And it's just like I said, the Yankees and Giants will have down years, but I think you could always expect them to bounce back at a certain point,
Yeah.
Like even Jet fans are just like, oh, well, we sucked. We're going to keep sucking, until something.
I told you, you got to read that book, True Believers by Joe. What's his name? Oh man, what's his name? Joe. He used to be on Imus all the time.
True Believers. Oh, see, I never liked Imus.
Oh, see, I did. Well, Imus was a little more of a. I liked his guests better. You know, they talked about things a little better. It was almost like Imus was almost like the Letterman on radio to me.
Yeah, yeah. And I do admit, I listened to Imus before Stern came along. I did. I remember Billy Saul Hargis and Reverend.
The Coke years?
Yeah, and the Reverend or whatever. Yeah, and so I remember some funny sketches, but I think I was outgrowing that type of humor by when Stern started coming around.
Yeah.
But
Did you listen to him when he was on NBC?
Oh, hell yeah.
Right.
Imus in the morning, and then, when we're at school, and then coming home from school, somebody said, hey, you got to listen to this guy Stern, because Stern was on, like, from 2 to 6, the afternoon shift at one point, and it was just like, and then, like, started listening to Stern when he was on NBC, and then all of a sudden he switched over to K-Rock, like a year and a half later.
Yeah, I remember that big push when they had, like I said, they had Imus and Stern on that same channel. I thought, wow, this is, something's going on over here.
Yeah, and then remember the midday show was like Soupy Sales.
Yeah, Soupy Sales always surprised me because he's always a name I knew, and whenever he got a shot at something, he got canceled in like 5 minutes.
I know, but he had a long career. God bless him.
A long career doing what?
Just doing his shtick.
Where did he do his shtick?
Remember he had a kids show on Channel 11 here in New York that lasted for years?
For how long?
It ran for years, at least 5 years.
Still 5. 5 years. I mean, people didn't even talk about Joe, what's his name, on Channel 9 that much as Soupy Sales. Jesus Christ.
Who, Joe the Cop?
No, the guy.
Now we're really showing our age talking about this.
Yeah, we got a really big show. No.
Oh, Ed Sullivan?
No, not Ed Sullivan. The guy he could have, like, today on the show, we'll have the backup juggler to Vinny the Clown on the Seven Brothers Circus. He had, like, all these. Joe, what's his name?
Oh, God.
On Channel 9, late at night. Every once in a while, somebody big would go on, but he would have like these people that were like, Miss Runner-Up for Sweet Potato.
Oh, you mean Joe Franklin? Joe Franklin was the best. Yeah. Joe Franklin was the best. I love that show.
If Joe Franklin was around today, Gary, I guarantee you both would get on that show.
Joe Franklin lasted decades. He originated the talk show.
But the thing was, it wasn't like a. He would just be on like randomly.
No, Channel 9, used to have him on either on the night or the daytime because he would tape the show. It wasn't like live. Oh, yeah. God. The funniest thing is, like, I remember watching that for a long period of time in the 70s and 80s, and he would always complain that, like, he was the first one to have like Robert Redford on his show, Barbra Streisand on his show, this entertainer, and he would be the first one to have him on his show, and then they would never come back once they made it big.
Yeah. He was taping it in the back of his mother's house.
That was great.
It would be Robert Redford, and then the guy who walks like Liza Minnelli's dog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's what made the show so great. You just never knew. He had the Ramones.
One thing I did respect, he made every guest feel like whatever they did in show business was just an amazing thing.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. He treated everyone. Like, he was fascinated by every story, by any human being. He was fascinated by everything. It was awesome. It was terrific. I remember when he had the Ramones on a few times. That was great. He was so out of his element talking to the Ramones. It's just like, he had no idea. This guy's listening to ragtime music back in his office, and he has to talk to the Ramones.
I lost you there for like a good minute and a half.
Oh, I was going to say he had the Ramones on a few times, and he had like no clue who they were. Here's
Yeah, but I love that when like big names would go on it. Like, what the hell? Let's go on Joe Frank.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, but it's funny. It's like, he's listening to ragtime music in his back room, and then he has to like talk to the Ramones about this new type of music called
This
punk.
newfangled music, hey, we're retiring, Joe.
Yeah. I
I
remember.
like four film comics who never had a TV appearance in their life.
Yeah.
Talking about like they were like one of the pillars of show business.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when the Ramones were on one time, and this is how I learned of this. Like, people would lip sync to their music on these shows. I always thought, like, when I was a young kid, it was done live. But one time the Ramones were on, and Joe Franklin asked them, like, something like, "So what are you going to do next, Joe?" And Joey Ramone was like, "I don't know, whatever's on the record next." I was like, so they would just wait till somebody dropped the needle, and they would start pantomiming what was being played. And it was like, oh, I never knew that. It was just great. Just breaking the fourth wall. Oh, looks like
Mike.
Here's Mike's coming in.
Hey,
Mike, you're 8 minutes late.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
And you're very late, but we're not going to hold it against you.
Doesn't matter. We bullshit about stuff. Joe Franklin.
Oh, Joe Franklin.
See, Mike's a fan.
My friends.
Yes. I'm telling you, you had to be in a certain state of mind to appreciate Joe Franklin.
Oh,
Who was
yeah.
the guy? He would play like like standards, like Frank Sinatra, those kind of guys. And he was from New York forever. Oh man, what the hell?
Oh, William B. Williams on the NEW Make Believe Ballroom.
I remember him.
Is
I
that
met him once.
Yeah, that was terrific.
Yeah.
That guy was taller than I was.
Yeah, he was great. I used to listen to that Sinatra on Sunday.
I'm
Show.
telling you. No, I'm talking about Saturday night. I'm telling you, he had another name. They played the show from New York. Mike, how tall are you, by the way?
I'm 6'3".
Okay, so that guy is tall.
Yeah, he
Standard
must
Saturday
be like
night?
about
Oh, you mean?
55 or
Oh
something.
God, you don't mean Lawrence Welk?
No.
Because that show was a shit show.
I think this guy's still on.
Saturday night
I remember listening to him. I think it was last summer or summer before. But he'd be like,
on
he'd be like,
TV.
not to make believe ballroom, but one else season. But maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Whoever he is, he's older than Black Pepper now.
Yeah.
And we have been showing our age in this one, man. We're
Talk about Alan Ladd. When you put this up, just really capitalize elder.
yes.
Old pages.
It's pretty old school stuff, but it's also sports too, which is
Yeah, we were talking sports. We're talking about gatekeeping, Mike, and how I see complaints from a lot of fangirl sites and talking about guys gatekeeping. And
What is
how
gatekeeping?
gatekeeping is like, okay, you're not a real, whatever fan.
Yeah, it's all Greek to me, man.
well,
Like somebody says, like, I don't know, when you're into, you're going to get into Korean movies all of a sudden, and somebody says, have you seen this movie? Have you seen that movie? Have you seen that movie? And they're like, and you just go, no, and no, and they're like, how could you call yourself a Korean movie fan?
yeah, that
Okay.
thing. Yeah, it's same thing with geek girls. It's like, oh, they're not real comic fans.
Yeah.
It's like that was bullshit.
Yeah, I can get that. Yeah.
But do you see it or read about it a lot online, or because I think it's more prominent in the geek community than like something like the sports community or the music community.
See, music community's vicious.
Yeah.
Really, I know there's music snobs, but I think like if you go to like friends, the previous owners of the comic shop, Pat, where they're in hardcore bands, and hardcore people are very open-minded and very liberal and very inviting to people who want to join.
If you look like a newbie, they will knock you off your feet.
Nah, again, I think it's a small group of a-holes that get noticed more than the real fans who embrace what the hardcore culture or the music culture is about. you know, sharing music, listening to music
I've
together.
seen gatekeeping everywhere.
Ah,
We did it to Kareem. Remember, Kareem said, "Yeah, I love that guy, Rob De Niro's movies." And we were like, "What'd you think of Taxi Driver?" I never saw that one. What about Raging Bull? No.
wait a minute. Oh, but that was because he's been watching current De Niro movies, which is
But
fine.
I mean, it was shocking to us. You call yourself a De Niro fan and not see those two.
Yeah, yeah. But we weren't keeping him from our group, so
No. You know, I think Kareem watches more movies than God.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And it was saying, where you would say, wow, I love Bob De Niro in The Godfather. I said, wait, Bob De Niro was in that?
Yes.
No, yes,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, but I just think it's more prominent in geek culture because my reasoning, Mike, is that, you know, being an outsider from the cool kids when you're growing up, and now that the cool kids are embracing geek culture, it's more like there's a lot of pettiness from geeks who are like, well, you can't join my club now because you didn't let me join yours.
Yeah, but I mean, look at Freaks and Geeks. How long ago was Freaks and Geeks? Probably, what, 10 years ago?
15?
More like
That
15.
long? Wow, okay.
Yeah, wasn't it like the 2000s? Right? Early
Yeah,
2000s?
but I mean, think
Yeah.
about, like, what those guys had to go through kind of thing, and, like, that perception of geeks was still there. And like I said, Beauty and the Geeks, that Ashton Kutcher show that was on CW.
But wait a minute, but Freaks and Geeks, which was from 99 to 2000,
Yeah,
but that show was about the 80s.
still, that perception is still there.
In the
The
80s?
most-
No, in
Yeah,
the
but, Big Bang Theory, that perception is still there. What's her name isn't even that hot. They're like, oh, they'll never get her. She's a blonde who works in.
The Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
But wait, you're saying that the Freaks and Geeks is about making fun of them? I thought Freaks. I never saw Freaks and Geeks. I thought it was
but
about
I mean,
embracing their
look
culture.
At their, way they were treated by fellow students. in high school.
Yeah, but that because it took place
And
in
how
1980.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't think geek kids in the 90s were treated that way? You think a kid would show up in high school now with a folder full of Magic the Gathering cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards, they wouldn't be slammed?
They might be.
They might be, but I don't think like they would be in the past. I think there's more people playing Magic now, especially in the last few years. Well, Mike, you showed me that back in the mid '90s, and it's what
Yeah.
it's a $4 billion industry. Somebody's playing it. It just can't be geeks and nerds who are alone on a Friday night.
You know what's funny? If you watch early episodes of The Big Bang Theory, the guys get together and they sometimes play this card game called The Wizards of Ka'a. And the thing behind that is the producers really wanted to use Magic the Gathering. And they went to Wizards of the Coast to get their permission to use Magic cards on the show in the course of playing a portion of the game. And Wizards of the Coast said no, which I think was the stupidest move that they could have ever made.
Exactly, that's
Yeah, I think it's the
gatekeeping.
smartest move I ever heard.
No, but see, that's gatekeeping. That the
No,
geek.
they saw a couple of the episodes and thought, oh, this fucking show's crap.
Well, hey, look, I'm not a
I'll
Big
be
Bang.
right back.
I'm not a big.
Carry on.
I'm not a Big Bang Theory guy either. But to me, that's
Oh, really?
gatekeeping. Yeah, I saw 2 episodes and didn't like it. But to me, that's gatekeeping. It's where this nerd culture, Magic the Gathering, was approached by, TV, a TV network, a TV show. And, instead of saying, hey, that's a great idea. This is like free promotion for our game.
Yeah.
And what did they said no because they were being petty. They were gatekeeping.
No, the money wasn't right, or they.
How do
like
you
I said,
know?
they didn't like the scripts. They didn't like the show.
How do you know?
The books of Wizards of the Coast and the money.
How do you know? Yeah, what Magic was
Yeah, you're
huge.
saying. Well, you're saying. How do I know? You're saying they were petty. How do you know they were petty?
Because they said no to free. Because they said no to free publicity.
No, I don't know why they said no.
They said no to. The bottom line is they said no to free publicity on a network TV show. That's what it boils down to.
That is still among the top 5.
And now and Patrick, it's also. I mean, even in the beginning, it was it was a popular show. Now it's one of the most successful. It's now one of the most successful sitcoms of all time. So why would you? But the bottom line is, why would you turn down free publicity?
I don't know, but you can't say it's for petty reasons.
Yes, you can.
You can say it, but you don't have any evidence for it.
Well, you don't have any evidence too about the money or the script.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying it could have been for those reasons.
You said that. You said that 2 minutes ago. It could be for this. It could be for this. It could have been.
You're saying definitely pettiness, definitely gatekeeping. The Wizards of the Coast people looked at the CBS sitcom and said, "No, you're not nerdy enough."
Because if you turn down free publicity, what reason do you have for turning down free publicity?
I don't know.
It's petty. It's human nature. It's pettiness. It's getting a little bit of revenge on the outsiders that want to be cool now.
I mean,
on the cool guys that want to be outside.
And dress up in those costumes.
What are you talking? What are you babbling about, you Irishman? I can't hear you. Wait, let Mike talk.
Here's a question: do you think Wizards of the Coast thought that Magic the Gathering, if they had allowed the characters on Big Bang to play that game in the course of an episode, in a scene or two, that Magic the Gathering was going to be presented in a negative light? How is that possible?
I don't know, Mike.
Exactly.
But Eminem didn't go into E.T. and boom, Reese's Pieces.
Right, but that was more of a business decision.
Yes, now I'm saying we don't know the reason that you didn't say oh, why did they use Reese's Pieces?
But it's different. But the Big Bang Theory was a show about geek culture, and they went to a geek culture game or object and asked to be on it, and they said no. Reese's Pieces and E.T. was just like, we want to put this product into a movie, and Reese's and Eminem said no.
This ties in directly to one of the things I wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, we're not talking about any of them. Keep going.
Are you guys aware of what happened this week with Burger King?
With Burger King? No.
Yes.
No.
Oh, let me tell you what happened. The story broke. Yeah, the story broke like yesterday. Burger King has this new promotion where they did a 15-second commercial spot to advertise their new and improved Whopper sandwich. So the commercial goes like this. It's in a Burger King. There's a guy.
Mike, just get to the move it along.
Hey, stop being rude, Mr. Captain America fan. Captain America would never be rude.
For all you listening at home, in case you don't know about this, I'm setting this up.
Which I don't. I haven't seen it. I'm not home all day like Patrick.
There's a guy in Burger King, he's a Burger King employee, he's holding a Whopper sandwich, and he's like, hey, we don't have enough time in this commercial. We only got 15 seconds. We want to take enough time to advertise how great the new and improved Whopper is. So let's do it this way. Come closer. And they have the camera come closer, and he says, okay, Google, what is a Whopper sandwich? And that's where the commercial ends. Now, here is what Burger King had in mind. First, they tied this commercial in with Wikipedia. They put a listing of the Whopper sandwich on Wikipedia.
Okay.
And they wrote it out so that it could be as enticing and as desirable as they possibly could. All right? Now, there's a couple of minor boo-boos that they made in the course of this, before I even get to the major boo-boos.
Uh-oh.
First of all, Wikipedia, you cannot use as a promotional platform to sell something. They don't allow that. That's against the rules. That's first of all. Second, if you are, let's say, a Burger King executive and you're trying to write a Wikipedia page on one of your products, You can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. Somebody that's not associated with your company has to write it. You know, it's just like if, Gary, you want to write an autobiography about yourself on Wikipedia, you're not allowed to write it yourself. Somebody else has to write it.
Yes, yeah. I knew that.
So you've got that restriction, which they
I'll do it,
ignore. Now, that's the least of it. What happened was they tied it in with Google, with their new Google Home computer, their interactive computer, where it acts just like Siri on the Apple devices. You know, you talk to it, it answers questions. So, and it's pre-programmed in. So they tied that in. They did not consult with Google. They did not partner with Google. They did not ask Google's permission to do any of this, which is another big problem. And when they set it up, the one thing that most people didn't realize is when you ask a question of Google Home, Google gets a lot of their answers for your question from Wikipedia. Wikipedia is open source. Anybody who's a member of Wikipedia can go into any entry and edit it to their heart's content. So somebody got wind of this, or somebody went in and re-edited the text in the Whopper page on Wikipedia. So once you ask Google Home, what is a Whopper sandwich, it would go into Wikipedia and it would tell you something along the lines of, according to Wikipedia, the Whopper sandwich is a sandwich that is marketed and sold by Burger King, which contains the following ingredients: chocolate candy, toenail clippings, rat droppings, a medium-sized child, and cyanide. Yes, this happened. This is exactly what happened.
Well, I could see how it bit Burger King on their ass. They just...
Oh, my God.
They didn't know the social media platforms and how they worked.
Oh,
now
my God.
That's more of an oversight on Burger King.
Well, oversight. Well, it's a glaring oversight.
Yes.
You know, it's a thoughtless oversight.
Jesus, Burger King just doesn't know how to do promos. Remember when they had that Herb commercial, that Find Herb at Burger King's like 25 years ago? That was a clusterfuck too.
Yeah. And I'm still not crazy about their promotion with the guy dressed as Burger King. You know,
that was big.
Burger King mask.
Yeah, that's
They're
creepy.
Not going to rest until somebody gets a hold of that costume and that mask and robs a fucking banquet.
I'll do
it. That'll be it.
I think that's a little bit too extreme, but I'm surprised it happened already because that creepy Burger King dude has been around for like 15 years.
You hit that nail right on the head with that adjective. It is creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe it lasted so long. I thought you figure the first commercial, boom, they pulled it, they liked it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was like, what, they had to be around 10 years? What do you think?
At least 10 years.
Close to
it. Ancient for a ad campaign.
But with this thing with Google Home and Wikipedia, Google is not happy with Burger King right now. And it's not known whether they are going to pursue anything actionable, i.e. legal. But the first thing they did was they reprogrammed their Google Home devices. So now, if you ask a Google Home device, Google, what is a Whopper sandwich, it will not respond now.
Which takes away the whole point. Which takes away the whole point of their doing this in the first place. Oh Jesus, that's hysterical.
Oh my God. I could not believe that.
I mean, it was a good idea, but they just didn't cross the I.
No, it wasn't.
Not the I's and
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
The moment they decided to do it without Google's knowledge or consent,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. How they cannot go through the proper channels.
But it was amazing how fast the internet latched onto that and said, guess what? Cyanide comes right up.
Wow.
The Whopper is a burger consisting of a flame grilled patty made with 100% medium-sized child, with no preservatives or fillers. Toppings with sliced tomatoes, onions, lettuce, pickles, ketchup, and mayonnaise. Served on the sesame seed bun.
Didn't they have an intern looking at these Wikipedia pages and seeing what people were writing and trying, like...
Well, probably nobody edited that page for, 20 years.
But that's what you get interns to do when you're doing something.
Nobody edited it. Nobody cared to edit it. It was, nobody gave a crap about that page until they did the ad.
I'm betting the intern was the one that told them, guys, this is not like a well thought out idea. And they say, well, what do you know? You only work here Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but Pete, Patrick, what I'm saying is that when you come up with a new idea too, then you have to have these interns do all the shit work. So, when they came up with this new idea to modify that Wikipedia page, they were like, where was the intern on it, Or getting...
No, Burger King wasn't, I don't know what they were thinking, what they were eating.
Wow, I didn't... Jesus. So between that and Pepsi, and their failed commercial...
I didn't think the Pepsi thing was so bad. I think people overreacted to that. I didn't like it. I thought it was, schwarmy and condescending, but I didn't think it was offensive anyway.
Well, maybe not to you. I'm sure it offended a few other people.
Yeah, it seemed to. I don't.
Yeah, I tend to call that commercial campaign "Pepsi Drinkers' Lives Matter."
Yes, yeah.
Now, a lot of people did that. I guess.
But it's just all these big corporations think they know what the people want or what the people are thinking, and they really don't. It's just...
Well, they've been doing it for how many years?
Right, but now there's much more of awareness going on. There's much more outlets to see people's reactions or to see what people are thinking. The whole Black Lives Matter thing. You couldn't have ignored it, even if you were computer illiterate, because it was in the news. And it was, all over the place. And now you're going to tell me, some guy who wrote off said, oh, that's a great idea for a Pepsi commercial. Just wrote it off. It's ridiculous. It's like the people reach a certain level of authority.
That's not the only protest movement that's moving on now. Since Trump got elected, we've had how many marches? It's like that. The march society is on the move. You could have said it was the Million Mile March, or the Women's March, or the Berkeley March. There's a lot of marches.
Yes, but the Black Lives Matter march was over people being shot and killed.
Okay,
when people are protesting Donald Trump being elected, nobody's dying over Donald Trump being elected.
Not yet.
Not yet.
That march. What made you think it was Black Lives Matter as opposed to any of the anti-Trump marches?
Just for the police presence there, it's like really.
Police at every march.
No, I didn't say every march.
I said police are at every march.
Okay, but that one. Yes, police are at every march, but what was the only marching event where police were the prominent subject? Whereas them, when they were shooting innocent people and using excessive force, and she goes out with a Pepsi can to the police, and that's ridiculous. Because
remember the pictures of the flower children put flowers into the soldiers' guns?
Yeah, it's like Kent State all over.
And that was Vietnam, and that was relating to Vietnam, and again
there was an ad that you would have called that ridiculous.
That pissed off a lot of people too back then, especially.
And it wasn't that long ago. I can't remember which one it was, but they gave one of the protesters gave the cops water.
Yes, but it wasn't trivializing. It wasn't an ad trivializing what Black Lives Matters meant.
That's true.
Giving someone water. is different than sugared water,
Yeah, no, but
billion-dollar
what about that
corporation.
commercial made you say this is definitely Black Lives Matter? Even though there were people from every race and creed in there, what made you say they were protesting against police violence? Because they said it all over the internet?
No, because it felt that way too. Because again, the police were the prominent subject over the past year and what's happening, and there have been protests against the police. There hasn't been, yes, you could say there are protests against Trump, but it's not it's not causing people's deaths or police are making black lives worthless because of the excessive violence. And that's what Pepsi was doing. That commercial was targeted towards being pro-cop because of all the bad ink the police have been getting.
See, I took it as just
over the years.
Culture that came as soon as Trump was elected, the protest culture was there. They were siding with the anti-Trumpers. That's how I saw it. Trump, there was a medley of people there, Latinos, Asians, Kendall Jenner, black guys, all that thing, going against the big bad white dude that's in the White House now.
See, I don't even see it like that because I
said they was going to get rid of. Remember, according to them,
I can't see
get rid of
Pepsi.
Muslims and Latinos any day now.
I can't see Pepsi siding with the anti-Trumpers. I just
They're younger.
No, but the people who run Pepsi are from Trump's generation and probably voted for Trump.
They don't care.
We don't even know if Donald Trump drinks Pepsi. If he doesn't, then it's a moot point to him.
He doesn't care.
Yeah, but the whole thing is that it's trivializing something important, like protesting against Trump or the police violence. That's why there was such a backlash, because you're saying, hey, it's okay to let's have fun with Pepsi at these protests,
What do you think of when Kendall Jenner was wearing the blonde wig and she was all kind of pale, and she also takes the blonde wig off and she's got full makeup on, different makeup, and steps out into the street? Is there any message there?
No, I didn't see it as a message.
Okay.
I think she was hiding her identity.
Right.
But she was hiding her celebrity, not what she looked like.
On a photo shoot?
But yeah, that's what they do on photo shoots. See, you're a model, you wear wigs, you wear makeup.
A celebrity.
No, but when she was at the protest rally at the end, handing the thing to cop, when she was at the rally, she's hiding her celebrity.
She's at a photo shoot. She's got a blonde wig on. She's got makeup on, completely different makeup, and then she takes a blonde wig off. As she sees the procession of humanity walk by, she takes a blonde wig off. She has completely different makeup, and she goes out and joins them. A lot of people on the net are saying, "Oh, that's anti-white."
Oh, really? I did not see that at all.
Anti-white?
Anti-white, huh?
Or she gave up her white identity to join. Look how many white people are in that parade.
I saw a few. Yeah, it's all mixed.
But the black guy and the Asian chick were more prominent. But she was joining. She wasn't joining the white guys. That's what they're saying. So
And so white identity comes down to being blonde.
Well, yeah. Also drinking milk.
I can't see.
I'm not sure what that means.
I'm not sure what that means, and I can't see them being anti-white. I don't know. People who work at Pepsi.
Watch it again.
In fact, I will.
I don't think it's anti-white either. I'm just thinking the way it was shot and the way it was positioned, make a pretty good case.
Okay, I'm going to watch it again while you guys are talking.
Well, that kind of leads
into Mike.
Another subject.
Yeah, this is what Mike really wanted to talk about tonight.
Oh yeah, the controversy over X-Men Gold #1. I know Gary's familiar with it. Are you, Patrick?
Oh, everybody is.
Yeah. It's been all over the net.
The nightly news.
Yeah, I am too. I pulled up a couple of different news stories regarding it. There's one that is from an online news site from Jakarta that talks about it. And it says anger over the actions of Indonesian illustrator Adrian Sayaf, who created a comic book controversy of epic proportions after local fans found out he had snuck references to his support for the hardline movement to criminalize Jakarta Governor Basuki Ahok Tajaha Purnama in an issue of Marvel Comics' new X-Men Gold series, continues on despite the artist already declaring, "My career is over," quote unquote, on Facebook yesterday. Once Marvel Comics had been alerted to the hidden messages from Indonesian fans and comic book news outlets, they issued a statement saying that the references would be erased from all future releases of the issue and that Adrian would be facing unspecified disciplinary actions. Shortly after that, Adrian himself declared his comic book career was finished. Marvel issued another statement detailing the actions that were taken against him. Marvel, and this is a quote from Marvel, Marvel has terminated Adrian Sayaf's contract effective immediately. X-Men Gold numbers 2 and 3, featuring his work, have already been sent to the printer and will continue to ship bi-weekly. Issues 4, 5, and 6 will be drawn by R.B. Silva, and issues 7, 8, and 9 will be drawn by Ken Lashley. A permanent replacement artist will be assigned to X-Men Gold in the coming weeks. Adrian has consistently defended his inclusion of the references to the 212 anti-Ahok rally, which he had attended in Jakarta in December, as well as Al-Maida 51, the Quranic verse which Muslim hardliners in Indonesia interpret to mean that Muslims cannot vote for leaders from other religions, and an interpretation disputed by many in and outside of Indonesia, calling them numbers of justice and love. Many called the references Adrian included in the X-Men comic anti-Christian and anti-Semitic, a charge the artist denied, saying in one conversation he posted to his Facebook page, now deleted, "I don't hate Jew or Christian. I worked with them in 10 years. A lot of good friends, too." However, in an interview about the controversy with local newspaper Jawa Pos, published today, Adrian explained why he thought that Marvel could not accept his explanation for including the references. "But Marvel is owned by Disney," Sayaf said. "When Jews are offended, there is no mercy," unquote. After making the anti-Semitic remark, Adrian Sayaf reiterated to the interviewer that he was not anti-Semitic or anti-Christian because, if he was, he wouldn't have worked for a foreign publisher. In the same interview, he dismissed concerns that his actions might hurt other Indonesian artists, saying that as long as they didn't make mistakes like he did, Marvel couldn't fire them. Never mind the doubts all comic book companies are going to have in the future about hiring Indonesian or Muslim artists because of his actions. If there was any question left about Sayaf's true beliefs, they were clarified by a picture he posted to Facebook, which he quickly deleted, but was screen capped by a Reddit user, showing him happily meeting with the leader of the hardline Islamic Defenders Front, FPI, Rizek Shabib, who has been at the forefront of the anti-Ahok protests and is currently being investigated for blasphemy against Christianity. And it goes on to say, in the post, Adrian said that the controversy had caused him to want to meet with Rizek for guidance. And lo and behold, he received an invitation to meet with the leader soon after. Maybe now that he's no longer working for Marvel or DC, Adrian can start his own line of FPI comics.
Pat, you've been following this more than I have.
I mean, I'm following it. Like, to me, it's done. It's there and it's done. Try to pull it off. I don't know where the editor was, but Gary, how many times have I said to you, look, past few years. Where the hell are the editors on this thing?
Oh, hell yeah. I've been saying that too. I think editors just push digital files now from the artist to the printer. I don't think they look at the book.
A very interesting point. And I, for one, think that the editor and the assistant editor on that book should have been sanctioned somehow. Maybe not fired, but sanctioned. Or allowing something so racially charged, intent or no, to have gone through.
Exactly. It's so prominent on Colossus's shirt. Why didn't an editor or anyone say, "What is this? What does this mean?" I mean,
not only that, it's not like there's a it was an odd T-shirt to begin with. It wasn't like a Flames T-shirt or
that's what I'm saying. It's like, wouldn't you have questioned that if you've never seen that before? It wasn't like it was hidden; it was prominent.
That's right.
That's something.
He also said, Mike, did you see the other things where he has the bat swinging right into Kitty's face? Colossus is at the home plate, and she's on the sideline. She's in the stands. And if you look at it, post this, whatever, it looks like he's having the Colossus swing and hit her in the face with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but then again, who knows? Maybe he wasn't. Maybe it was just him swinging the bat. But now we got this T-shirt, and now we have to look at the stands.
Yeah.
We have to look at the panel.
And then I think the last panel of that very page, which shows the back of Kitty Pryde addressing this crowd. In the background, the buildings in the background, there's a jewelry store, and the word jewelry is prominent, and it's showing that the word balloon, the last word balloon in the panel, which is pointing to her, is almost underlining the word Jew in jewelry.
Yep.
And anybody who knows the character of Kitty Pryde knows that since her inception, she has always been Jewish.
Yes, they brought up her Jewishness, her faith a lot. I think there can't be any coincidences in this. This was drawn by the artist, purposely put in. I mean, it is kind of odd. Like, he's working for a Western corporation, and he's getting a shot on one of the most prominent name brands of the last 50 years.
I would call it extremely unfortunate, because here you have this man. He is a great talent. He's got a fan following because of his talent.
Yeah.
I followed his work. I like his work very much. And I thought to myself, every issue of where, no matter what his work appears in, he seems to be getting better and better. I was following him since he was doing the team book Dynamo 5 for Image.
Oh, yeah.
That's where he got his start. And then DC snapped him up, and he was doing Green Lantern, I believe, for a little while. And then Marvel got him. And I've been following him ever since. And I said, wow, this guy is really good. And what he did, in essence, for his political beliefs, he committed
career suicide.
Yes, career suicide.
But I want to know who he thought that was going to reach. I can't believe everybody caught it. Like, who the hell follows Indonesian politics?
Yeah.
All it takes is one. I mean...
Yeah.
And
all of a sudden, it was all over the internet. Wow.
But it's like, why put your personal politics...
Absolutely, yeah.
In a there are so many social platforms now for you to express your political and religious beliefs. You don't need to have it cross over into your professional life.
The least the editor should have asked him, the very least they should have asked him, is what does that on Colossus's shirt mean? Does it have a meaning? What is that?
Yeah. But again, I think...
Somebody in Marvel had to be a hipster and say, where can I get that shirt?
But the thing is, I think now that because your books have such a quick turnaround, like, I don't know. It's like, I remember, like, growing up, it seems like editorial was much more maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought like reading Stan's soapbox and all those letter pages, that editorial was on top of their game. I always felt
Well,
like
they also told us, like, all of a sudden, a reference a year, way back in issue 32.
yeah,
Remember those? And they were really
Mhm.
helpful. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, now I got to get that issue.
but you know
Yeah,
what's funny? I
exactly.
mean, now though it feels like I've seen a lot of typing mistakes.
Yes.
Coloring mistakes. You see a lot of mistakes that seem to have slipped past editors, and to me, it feels like
Absolutely.
I don't think editors are doing their job anymore. Like I said, I think they're just getting the artwork from the artist digitally, since most artists seem to work digitally now, and just turning around, maybe doing a quick skim, and then turning around and sending it off to the printer because,
I
especially
wonder if they're overworked. I mean,
overworked,
you know,
yeah. I was going to say maybe because Marvel puts out like 80 books a month and they have so much volume that they
80
can't.
books a month, 1 week. They put out 51 books in 1 week.
Yeah,
Marvel,
Yeah,
for the most
all right.
part, Marvel has always had that level of volume.
No way.
not like not
1975?
like in the last few years, Mike. I mean I think they did have a lot of volume, but now it's like, it's like you see like you look at the top 400 from Diamond, and it feels like Marvel has like a third of the books out on that top 400 list.
Hmm.
It's just, and I think our editors are overworked.
And now books are going to twice a month.
Yeah,
I hated when DC went to it, and then I noticed, I told you, when I looked at the solicitation for June, I said, oh, crap, this is going to be twice a week now.
yeah. So when you have a book that comes out twice a month, how can you really? And you're an editor, and you're working on volume, how can you have time
And
to?
the one thing
to
that's
look at
bad
it.
about that, but really the one thing that's bad about that is that the stories in these issues that are going bi-weekly, they're not compelling enough to justify it. And neither is the art.
No, not at all. But
You're
it's
right, the
great.
artist.
If it's a great story and great artwork, I don't care how often it comes out, I'm going to follow it.
Yeah,
But
this
if
is
I
another.
don't care about it, they're not getting my money.
Mike, what's your, do you have a pull list?
It's very, very short.
How many books on it?
Maybe 2.
Really? Holy crap.
really, I thought you were getting a lot
At the
more.
height of your pull list, how many books are there? Like, in your favorite years?
Oh God, that used to be my pull list used to be about at least 20 books.
That's nice. That's a nice chunk of change a month.
Yeah, it was.
To me,
But that was less back then.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good.
I'm gonna move to trades. It's the story's set up that way. It's cheaper.
But
I don't have to run to the. I don't have
Yeah.
to wear a book twice a month.
really,
Now here's another interesting side note to this story.
Yeah, that's right. I'm getting back on track. Sorry, Mike.
Here's no problem there. But here's an interesting side note to the story. In the collector's market, the first issue, because of this controversy, the first issue of X-Men Gold has jumped in value overnight.
Yes.
So now,
of course.
if you can find the first printing of X-Men Gold #1 now,
I guarantee
If you can-
it's at my comic store, right, Gary?
Yes, yeah.
It's on the shelf along with the one from like 1980.
if you can find it, it's worth $30 to $40 now.
Oh, it's going $50. That's I heard.
No surprise there that it's going up.
Well, of course, anything controversial in
And
comics.
stores are ordering 2 and 3. They're upping their orders on issues 2 and 3.
Yeah, I just saw that. Now, from a viewpoint of somebody who is a dealer, like myself, in order to grab as many issues as you can for the purpose of reselling at the current market value, is that wrong? Is that capitalizing on the controversy?
It is, but I don't know how you can say it was wrong. I mean, you got to go there and pay your money, whatever it is. You pay $50 worth of books. Like
What
I
do you
said,
think, Gary?
Yeah, I think so too. It is capitalizing on it. I mean, because the thing is, all these books that have caused so much controversy over the years, Yes, some of them will still remain up in value, but I guarantee you in a year you're going to be seeing that X-Men Gold in a dollar bin at a con.
Yep.
You know?
Maybe.
I
I don't
think
know, Mike, you're a dealer, but I feel in the comic book industry, if you want to make money on books, you buy them, mint, you get somebody to sign it, you get it graded, and you put it on eBay in the same day.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
Although,
part
you
of
know,
it. That's
like
flipping it.
Like that's what guys at cons are saying. I'm only signing so many books because they know these people are going to go home and put them up, turn them around on eBay.
Right.
Well, that's flipping a book, but also
don't care about the back issue market. Only the fans and the retailers do.
Yeah, but even the fans don't care. It's like I don't know. I just feel like the back issue.
Oh, yeah, the fans do care.
No, they do, but not the way it was.
The fans hunt for these books.
exactly.
Do they still do? I don't think.
Yeah. Now it's even worse than ever. I think because of movies and TV, where it's now. You even mention a character is going to be put on a TV show or a movie, and the back issues go up, which means you have your speculators and fans looking through their back issues and looking for back issues. It's ridiculous, and it's you're feeding into people's greed or whatever. I mean, it's just.
I mean, remember the fascination you were when you were a kid. You started buying back issues. You went to like a real comic book store and started buying back issues. It's exciting.
It was, but it was also we knew the value of even the books back then. We knew that, those were key books that we knew were valuable, like Avengers 1, Spidey 1.
Right.
Nowadays, it's like
when I was a kid, I used to think those books were ancient, but at the time, I was like, oh, I'll never even get a hands on, Avengers 1. I was like 15 years before.
I mean, look at Guardians of the Galaxy, the movie. At the end of the first movie, after the end credits finished, you had that, 10 seconds or so, 10 to 12 second clip that introduced Howard the Duck. Look how the Howard the Duck back issues jumped in value just because of those 10 seconds on
Now, are they still up there?
No.
Okay.
But they will be again once you see him on screen again.
Yeah, probably.
God save me from that.
No, but the thing is like even, but Patrick, when we were younger and collecting in the 70s and we saw Avengers 1 from 1963 was worth $100. Don't forget the economics was a lot different back then. We thought $100 was a lot of money back in the 70s.
$100 was a lot of money back then.
Yeah, but
I remember saving my money on one of the first two big back issues I bought were Luke Cage, Here for Hire #1, and Beware the Claws of the Cat. And I think they were $15 each, and it took me months to save that money.
You saved up to buy Claws of the Cat?
Yeah, I thought I was like, oh wow, look at this! Look at this cover, it's awesome. And then I love the art in it. It was a good story.
Yeah, but I remember seeing that all over the place when I was growing up. Like, but the thing is, I think controversies in the price, escalating price, does keep the fans interested. Everybody's looking for the next Batman Adventures number 12.
As a dealer, and Gary, you answer this, you were running on retail. Did those books go up in price because movie fans said, "Ooh, Howard the Duck, that's interesting"? Or did all comic speculators say, "Oh, Howard the Duck's going to be a big run, better jump all those orders"?
Well, it is the speculator. The speculators set the market.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of
people,
both.
It wasn't like, I don't think so. I don't think any movie fans went, "Oh, who's that duck? I want to," they went on.
No, of course not.
They didn't go out and buy them. They didn't go out and buy the issues. A bunch of guys.
The only people, you're right in the sense that the only people that didn't respond in kind like that were the people who are not comic fans, who didn't know about any of the Guardians of the Galaxy characters before they saw the film, and didn't know about Howard the Duck.
Okay, but my theory is speculators bought those books and they got stuck in them.
No, speculators will flip them. No, the thing is that speculators, when they say, "Oh, okay, Howard the Duck's in the Guardians," Howard the Duck 1 now shoots up in price. So once the word gets out on that, because of the speculators, then the average Joe who's collecting back issues and just will, hears of it, and then he goes, well, I got to find Howard the Duck now. I can make a quick buck. And it's just a vicious circle of like speculators lead to fans, lead to escalating prices, which leads to speculators again, flipping the books. And it's all a vicious circle. So it's a little bit of both that hype the prices, but it's basically more of the speculators, I think, doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, I don't think it brought in a lot of new Howard the Duck fans.
No, it didn't. But it brought in people now looking for back issues of Howard the Duck. That's what it brought in. Not so much to be a fan, but to make a quick buck off of it.
Well, if you bought the Howard the Duck variant of Gwenpool, #1, $370.
Oh, I don't want to get into variants. Variants are so fucking stupid.
I wanted to get. Sorry.
No, just like with the upcoming Justice League movie. Watch the Teen Titans and issues of the new Teen Titans and issues of Cyborg start to jump in value.
Because of Cyborg being in the movie?
Correct.
I guess Teen Titans 1 is a key book, so that was going to go up in value anyway. But
maybe.
Any issue that has, I believe there's an early issue of the new Teen Titans that has a Cyborg origin issue, that's going to shoot up.
Those spotlights? You think those spotlights will shoot up? Yeah.
Yeah, they might. They just might.
I guess so. But to me, it should only be key books that are worth anything. But here's a funny story.
Like Stanley said one time, and I thought this was really smart, the Golden Age books, nobody was saving them. That they were rare. That's why they cost so much.
Exactly.
In the 70s, everybody was saving it. Everybody was, how many? In the 70s, what do you think the percentage of comics was saved? Like, what, 35%?
I have no clue, but, it's the old...
By the 80s, it had to be, like, 60.
Yeah. And, the old joke is that, your parents threw them out, your mother threw them out. That's why they go up in value. Not so much of they're printing 1 million copies, it's because there's only 6 or 7 of them left after you're done disposing of them.
Yeah.
But to me, key books are the ones... First appearances, first issues are the only ones that should be valuable. I don't think anything else should be valuable. Yeah, and the funny joke is at the warehouse, the joke is now, Mike, I don't know if you heard this from speculators, that, when the Logan movie came out, of course, X-23 blew up, and her first appearance in whatever that... NYX or Marvel Adventures or those kid book, whatever first appearance she went up in price. Now the running hot book trend is not only the first appearance, but also the first mention of a character. That's becoming hot, and this is the joke, is that, the example is that, Carol Danvers first appeared in Captain Marvel 23, and now that book is hot because that's her first appearance. But now the trend is that she was mentioned in issue 21. That book is hot because it's the first mention. But now the joke with X-23 is that there's an issue of like X Factor or some X-Men book where there's a scene in the lab, and there's a Bunsen burner test tube that's labeled X-23, and that book is now hot because that's the official first appearance of X-23. Not even the fucking character. It's just because it was a Bunsen burner with labeled X-23. So now that book is hot. That's how stupid this fucking speculator market is now.
God.
Yeah.
That's taking it to the extreme.
So now people are running through back issues, like looking for anything. Like, there's a Star Wars short story in a Star Wars Tales book by Dark Horse where somewhere in the future somebody digs up something on a Star Wars planet and you see like the floppy fedora of Indiana Jones or something like that, and it's like, ooh, so now that book became valuable because it's because it's Indiana Jones in the Star Wars universe, and it's just so fucking stupid. This is what I have to go through a lot of times when I'm working the warehouse.
If that were truly the case, if that was really a meaningful thing in the collector's market, then by rights, Hulk 180
Should be,
worth
yes.
a whole lot more than Hulk 181.
Exactly. But see, then again, now you have people debating, well, in Hulk 180, yes, he appears in the last panel, but that's the cameo. Hulk 181 is the whole full-fledged first appearance. You know, there's so many semantics now on what is or isn't the first appearance, which...
See, I thought the back issue market went away because I see these guys, like I said, getting their graded and autographed and moving on. But the last few cons I was at, I haven't been to a con in a couple of years, 2 years, none of the deals were happy.
See, CGC is probably single-handedly responsible for the resurgence of the back issue market.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of retailers who aren't happy when they worked in New York Comic Con, but that's because key books or that are not most people who want key books want very fine to near mint, and if you don't have that, if you don't have key Silver Age books in a certain condition, you're not making any money. But meanwhile,
that was me.
Meanwhile, one of my retailer friends, he brought a whole bunch of $2 books to the last New York Comic Con, and he sold hundreds of them. He sold hundreds of them because people are just, maybe people are buying back issues in bulk or just hoping that, like Hydro Man gets announced for the next fucking Spider-Man movie, And it's,
See, that's the thing. I always tell people, go to the bargain bin. Go to the dollar box. There's tons of stuff in there for your kid. You don't need books.
Exactly. But now...
See, I can already tell with the coming of the new Spider-Man movie, Homecoming, appearances, especially the earliest appearances of the Vulture, are going to start to shoot up. Watch.
How high are they now, Mike? They've got to be pretty high.
I'm not sure.
The first appearance of the Vulture, that's Spider-Man 2. That's going up.
Yeah, Steve Ditko. That's, you're not going to get...
Yeah. See, that doesn't bother me as much as, the Bunsen Burner X-23 from, X Factor 4. From X Factor 4 is a garbage book. There's no significance to it, And it's but because if they mention a certain character's name and that character appears in a movie 30 years after the fact, it's really? That crappy book goes up in value?
It is. I just gave that book, NYX #1, to my cousin Susan. Remember we put those 2 boxes together for her?
Yeah.
You see what they're going for.
Exactly. Jesus, I when I opened up my store, I had all the Batman Adventure books, and I put
Don't
them...
check eBay for that, Frank.
Don't
check eBay for that. Check Comics Price Guide.
Well, eBay's got...
No, see, Mike, more people go by what's eBay... go by what's selling on eBay on how the market is dictated.
See, the only problem with that is, what if you don't find the issue you're looking for because nobody sold it on eBay recently? That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's okay. But
that's the problem. But then that's...
Nice and quick. But a 9.4 NYX #1 is going for $100.
See? And you gave it away.
You gave it away.
Hey, like I said, I sold all my Batman Adventures when I opened up my store. I put them on the spinner rack. I put them on the spinner rack for $1 or $2 because I didn't know that frickin' number 12, the first appearance of Harley, was going to jump up to $350 at some point.
I gave her issues 1 through 12 of Harley's first one, the Terry Dodson series.
Yeah, you couldn't give that book away 3 years ago. You couldn't give that book away, and now all of a sudden, those back issues are ridiculous. I just don't understand it, I just don't understand this market. But we kind of veered off on the controversy. But the thing is it career? Here's a question: is it career suicide for him? Do you think he'll get work?
See, I was surprised
not from Marvel or DC.
Right.
It would be interesting to see if any of the independents pick them up.
Exactly. That's the question. I think the independents might be more lenient than Marvel or DC. Maybe.
Right.
That's just me. I don't know.
The other side of the coin is, will this sour him to working on books published by foreign comics publishers.
Mm,
And to
yeah,
him, any comics publisher in the industry now, to him, would be a foreign publisher.
yeah, yeah. That's true. That's interesting to see how what he does with that. Yeah,
How is he going to look at it? I mean,
yeah. That's
is
interesting.
he
Yeah.
has he resigned himself to this? I mean,
My career is over. That seems pretty fatalistic.
but how exactly is he looking upon that statement?
Yeah.
You know,
I think he's looking at it like, I will never work in the United States again.
But again, we don't know how the independents are going to react.
Yeah, but he
Weird.
said my career is over. That seems pretty finite. I mean, you're right.
Well-
I mean, who's going to take a chance on him again?
Well,
Maybe
his,
in about 5 years.
well, maybe
4
his,
years,
his
maybe, but
comic.
not now.
Well, the thing is, his comics career may be over, but he could still keep drawing. He could still do
Oh,
something
yeah,
else.
yeah.
But I mean, like again, I could see Marvel and DC not hiring him to protect their image. But could I see Image?
Honestly, I was really surprised that they got rid of him. I thought that his, Muslim Indian, would have gave him some protection. That they would have been like, oh yeah, we're going to talk to him. But
Yeah, be a little bit more
take it
lenient.
out.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah, I thought they would just reprimand him and let it just destroy whatever issues were still around or whatever. But
and what it does, unfortunately, is it raises the level of paranoia that we as a nation, the majority, happens to feel towards Muslims.
mhm.
That's a very unfortunate.
What, the 70,000 people that were going to read that book?
Well, there was a lot of backlash from fans about this issue.
Yeah, because the internet thing got it, but next week it's all gone. I mean, the X-Men, which shocks me, the X-Men haven't been a top 10 seller for a long, long time.
But I don't think something like this goes away. I don't think once you're branded
No, but I'm just saying.
once you're
yeah,
branded a
but I'm just saying,
racist or prejudiced, I think that's a stigma that'll stay with you for quite a while.
Yeah, I guess. But I'm just saying, it just seemed like like I said, we didn't see it on the morning news. I mean, or, one of those Today Show or any of that. It was more like a tempest in a teacup for us, you know what I mean? Of course, we knew it, all of our sites, but do you think, how did things, in Peoria? Do you think they knew?
No.
And where will it go from here if it goes anywhere? What if you have Muslim fans out there, that decide to rise up and boycott Marvel?
All right, they lost 7.
It'd be a lot more than that.
well then the
Mike,
Ms.
have
Marvel
you seen
book.
the numbers of comics, what they're selling now? How many
Yeah, I have an idea.
Let's just say every Muslim fan doesn't buy a Marvel comic for another 5 years. How many issues? Give me a thing. How many issues does, say, Spider-Man drop a month?
Maybe
Excuse me.
couple 100,000.
Spider-Man doesn't even sell 100,000.
It doesn't go that high anymore. I don't expect.
Spider-Man goes like the top guys, Batman and Spider-Man sell 100,000 or just under. By the time you get to like the 8th or 9th best-selling book, you're in the 70,000s.
Yeah, even a book like Ms. Marvel, who's the Muslim lead character, her book sells only what, Patrick?
30,000 a month.
30,000. I mean,
But I couldn't track down that video. Remember I sent you the video of the guy V? He was talking about it was a response to Marvel's VP saying diversity wasn't working.
right, yeah.
The girl with the blue hair.
Yes.
She said Ms. Marvel is their #1 selling download, and I don't know what that means still, but so I don't know. Take that for what you will.
Yeah, exactly. How did she know when Marvel or DC have never released digital download numbers?
Yeah.
Everybody
And
makes an
he also
estimate.
He also pointed out Black Panther, which has since, come back down to earth, selling like in the 40s now.
Yeah.
The first couple of issues were like 70, 75, 73, 72, and then
And I think that's only because of the writer.
yes,
Yeah, the
right,
company
yeah,
post.
yeah, he was a big celebrity, yeah. But like Captain America, that's my favorite guy, by the way. He's a middle of the road guy for my whole life, except for like special runs, like say Dwayne Wade or Lou Baker's first 50 issues, that kind of thing. But I mean, Iron Man, Thor, and Green Lantern and Flash, they're not selling, 100,000 copies a month, Mike.
Yeah, I know those books are.
So you
I
got,
think
you got
I
Spider-Man, you
expected
got
Spider-Man
Batman.
to do better because
Yeah.
he's a top-tier book.
How can you not sell Spider-Man? Somebody said to my buddy was a PR guy from boxing, and he ran to Pat, what's his name, the PR guy for the Giants, and he goes, "Come on, you got the cushiest job in the world. How do you not? You don't have any trouble. You sold out for the past 20 years." Like that's how I see Spider-Man. How can you not be able to sell Spider-Man? Spider-Man, this movie's going to make $1 billion, and they can't crack 100,000 issues a month.
Well,
I think the editorial powers that be are too lax in what the criteria should be about a top-selling book like Spider-Man.
Honestly, you know what it is, Mike? People want to pay $44 for 20 pages.
I could see that, and like you said in the past, Patrick, comic people will go to the movies, but movie-going people will not look for the comic, and I think that's exactly right. And now, well, Marvel said they're now going to advertise their books before their movies. I could see maybe a very small percentage.
I think
Yeah.
that's a
People-
small step in the right direction.
It's
You
the
know
right
what I think
direction.
we should do?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're looking for. I think when they look at the movies, they see, and they hear, this is based on the Great Darkness saga or Dark Phoenix saga. They'll go to a store or go to Amazon and buy that. So they won't get it done. By the way, Mike, Spider-Man was the 13th best-selling book in March, and it sold 61,953 copies.
Wow.
And those are just shipped. We don't know how many left the
Right.
shelves. The number one book was Dark Maul, and then Batman, Justice League, Super Sons, Walking Dead, All-Star Batman, Star Wars, Justice League, Detective, and then Spider-Man.
What number is The Walking Dead at?
Walking Dead was at 6, and it was selling 83,000 copies. Well, 84. It was like 999.
It dropped.
Yeah. No,
It's
it came back up.
But it's still significantly lower than it used to be. It used to be number one on the list. For
A lot of months. Yeah, a lot of months. Yeah. That sold a lot of trades.
Still does.
Yeah, I know.
It's still a perennial moneymaker for them.
But I
Right.
mean, they only had 2 books over 100,000. Like Dark Maul #1 at $5, and then Batman at $3.
Another validation that they should never have killed off that character.
Oh no, that was the best thing about that movie.
Who, Darth
Yeah.
Maul?
Yeah.
Please.
But see, I think him being dead is what makes the book hit 100,000 because he's only in the damn movie for 10 minutes anyway. And
Yeah,
now
but
it's
he's
and now it's
only
like and now it's like,
like
ooh,
Jesus.
I want to know more about the Man of Mystery, like they did with Boba Fett, and that's
Well, he was
Dark-
on the cartoon for 2 seasons, I think.
right, okay, but it's
Now,
like, but I think
that segues into the trailer that I'm sure we've all seen when it was released this morning.
no, Patrick
No.
didn't because Patrick's
yeah.
Patrick's hiding in his cave.
You didn't see it, Patrick?
No, I mean, I don't have to. I don't need to go over it. I mean, I'll watch it eventually, but I'm going to go see it. I'm going to go see it.
I'll tell you something.
I like the last one.
I'll tell you something about it. I am going to see this film regardless because I want to see what happens next. And I do have an affinity for the Star Wars franchise. There's no denying that.
I think
But-
anybody who's our age does.
Yeah. But I was disappointed by the trailer.
The trailer was crap.
The trailer does not perpetuate anything new about the story, which
Thank
a
God.
good trailer should
I
do without giving anything away, without giving too much of anything away. The trailer is supposed to compel you to make you want to see the film. You're supposed to walk away from the trailer and say, man, I gotta see that film. I was like, yeah, I'm still gonna see that film.
Yeah, but we'll probably get 2 more trailers before then.
Oh,
Exactly.
I'm sure we will.
This was a teaser trailer. To me, Star Wars doesn't need a teaser trailer.
No, it doesn't.
It's been in our public
means-
consciousness for 40 fucking years. You know what you're getting with the Star Wars movie. There's no reason for this teaser trailer.
Yeah.
And I agree with
Right.
you, Mike. I thought the teaser trailer was terrible. It didn't show. Not that teaser trailers are supposed to show anything, but to me, this was just like all the teaser trailer did was show you that the same characters from Episode 7 are coming back for Episode 8. That's
Right.
it. It showed nothing. I mean, there were little
Oh no, that new girl,
hints.
the new girl's coming.
No, she wasn't in the teaser trailer.
All right.
What new girl?
The Asian chick.
Look at Mike. What new girl? I have to look it up right now.
There's a Star Wars convention this weekend, Mike, in California, and people were there watching the trailer, and there's supposedly there was an Asian woman who's a new character in the Star Wars universe, and even the director was hyping her up, saying she's going to play an important role in this
Yeah,
movie.
she's
And for the next 2 movies, which wrap up this next trilogy, a character from nowhere is going to play an important role.
Okay.
Yeah, but that trailer
Right
did
now, that
nothing.
doesn't do anything for me. It's all hype. You know?
Exactly.
I was disappointed that of the only time you see Carrie Fisher in this trailer, you see the back of her head. What the fuck is that about?
Dead.
No, she filmed everything before she passed away.
Yeah, so she will be in this film.
Yeah, why they didn't promote her? Yeah,
As important as this being her final appearance on screen ever
as a human being,
is,
it's her final appearance as a human being.
well,
Episode 9, she may be a frickin' CGI goddamn,
oh,
Yeah,
God,
effect.
That'll never happen.
you know? So,
I mean, Rogue One proves that doesn't work with everybody. It worked great for Peter Cushing's character of Tarkin. It didn't look great at all
on
for
her.
Leia.
Yeah, that was embarrassing, that final scene.
Yeah.
That was embarrassing, you know?
Well, Mike, I saw it with 2 guys. 2 of us liked it, and this old, nasty budget that just bitter business just leaks from his pores. Hated this.
Who was that, Patrick?
That would be you guys.
No, see, you lie. You didn't see Rogue One with me. You liar.
Well, I'm talking about Star Wars, the first movie, sorry.
No, The Force Awakens. You're a liar. No, we're talking Rogue One, where they had the
Yeah, I didn't
CGI
see it.
Fisher. They had a CGI Carrie Fisher at the end,
Yeah.
and it looked terrible.
Yeah, and it just looked across pandering and silly
Exactly.
and disrespectful.
And there were a couple, and I have to admit, there were at least 1 or 2 close-ups of Tarkin that didn't look as smooth as it could have been.
Yeah, I think when you pull back a little bit, keep them in the shadows, don't have them do much, it looked all right. But yeah, when you
Yeah.
start zooming in and close up, it just you could start seeing the cracks in the armor. Yeah. you know?
Yeah.
And but geez,
But
that,
overall, you know, his CGI appearances, they were beautiful, especially in comparison to Carrie Fisher.
yes, yeah. But the thing is that this trailer didn't even show anything out of respect to Carrie Fisher or her fans or her characters. They didn't even show her in this trailer. The trailer
Right.
did nothing. The trailer showed more of that stupid Irish island in the middle of nowhere than it
Yeah.
did anything else. You know?
Like I said when I saw the first movie, all I want is a good part from Mark Hamill. I'm not
And,
looking
and here's the thing. Mark Hamill as Skywalker in this trailer, he makes it a point of saying the Jedi are ended. The Jedi are over.
Yeah, I think it's time for me to end the Jedi or something like that, he said.
Now, I think that you should say that about the Skywalker clan, not about the Jedi. The Jedi and the Force and the use of lightsabers is integral to the Star Wars saga.
Well, I'll tell you this, Mike.
You take those
Gary.
away, it's not Star Wars.
Exactly, and I think that's why they're trapped in their own success.
Say
I think
that in the first movie, I'm talking Star Wars, everybody looked at Darth Vader like he was some cult guy from 1,000 years ago, and the Jedi who just run out of town 17 years before that. Nobody knew who the hell they were. They're not that great. Sorry.
You know what? Let's save this for another night where we could have a real Star Wars debate. Because
although I want to finish this particular part of the conversation with one thing. I'm still pissed at George Lucas for all of the redos and reshoots that he put in, all these special effects that were unnecessary, where what he should have applied all those reshoots to was the battle in Episode 4, the lightsaber battle between Vader and Obi-Wan, which could have looked so much more exciting and compelling instead of what it's always looked like, which is two geezers in the old folks' home fighting with their canes. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
In comparison to all the other lightsaber battles I've ever seen since.
Well, it's because they didn't know there was going to be a goddamn sequel and it was going to become the top-grossing movie of all time. You know? This was like a little space fantasy to alleviate you from the horrors of Vietnam on your TV. I mean, you know, it's like it wasn't going to be this fucking 12-movie saga, whatever the number they're up to now. It's just like, you know.
Mike, have you watched Mr. Plinkett's reviews of Star Wars on YouTube?
No, I have not.
Those are
they are very long, but worth it. Would you say, Gav?
Yeah, they're as long as the movies.
Oh, wow.
They're very critical. These are done by people who loved Star Wars as kids, and as the prequels came out, they got disillusioned with the whole franchise. They're still movie geeks. They'll still go to movies, but they've been burnt a little bit on Star Wars, and they just.
I just got the impression, that they were real movie fans, and they had definitely what's his name. At least one of them went to film school.
Oh,
and,
I think all of them did.
Very wickedly, darkly funny.
Yeah, it's called Red Letter Media, and look for something called Mr. Plinkett Reviews. But then I think all three of them went to film school, Patrick, because.
That's what I said. I don't know about. I guess.
And they're very articulate. They're very funny. They're very funny, and they make good points about things that you may or may not agree with, and
about storytelling and
storytelling and filming, and all that
imagery.
Yes, and they're really good, and they're funny as hell, and they do make. I don't agree with all their points, but a lot of it where you can tell that these are disillusioned Star Wars fans that are looking at these things with a more critical eye.
Mike, if you have to be at your computer doing stuff, put it on YouTube and just listen to it.
Okay.
Yeah, those
right
guys.
Now, the only reviewer that I listen to on YouTube is Kevin Smith.
Oh.
Batman on
Yeah,
Batman.
have you ever watched Chris Stuckerman? I think his name is.
No.
He was one of the first guys to get on YouTube and start doing movies, and he's a bit of a geek, but he's not as hardcore as we are. But he's built his. Let me see what his numbers are. He's got a hell of a following.
That's
I like the way he does movies.
What's his name? I never heard of him. Is that the Nostalgia Critic?
No. Chris,
I just have a love-hate relationship with Kevin Smith. It
Chris
goes up and down. I got into Fat Man Fat Man on Batman a couple of years ago. I really liked it. Then it just turned into a kiss-ass suck fest.
Yeah.
With some of his friends he brought on, and it's like I even like the ones he's doing with that Hollywood insider Mark Bernardin. Mark Bernardin. I think they were good for a long time, and now I just got tired of Kevin Smith's point of view. I still like Mark Bernardin or whatever when he's doing stuff. Bernardin, but now I'm just tired of them.
Yeah, because he used to be a reviewer for the New York Times.
Right. So
Los Angeles Times.
Yeah. So he really comes from a writer's critical point of view in dissecting something. While Kevin Smith, like all of us here, in these shitty little podcasts. We're just coming at it from a fan's point of view. You know, it's like with critical thought, but it's totally different than when you're a professional
Speak for
writer.
yourself, Gary.
No, I'm speaking for you because you can't speak, you animal.
I know, because
You're an animal.
But Chris Stuckman, he's got almost 1 million subscribers, and he's got over 1,000 videos.
Yeah.
And he's really built his channel up from like nothing to,
Now I'll tell you a trailer that I also saw this morning that I did thoroughly enjoy and laughed my ass off. A movie coming out in August called The Hitman's Bodyguard with Samuel L. Jackson.
I saw the title
Ryan.
of that, but I didn't see it.
Oh my God, it is hysterical. And you know how Samuel L. Jackson plays that angry black man role?
Mhm.
He's got it down to a T in this movie. I said, yeah, now that I have to go see.
All right, I'll go.
And that's what a trailer should do for me.
I like going to comedy, so I'll go see that too. So
yeah,
look,
it was funny as hell.
So look, here's the thing: we're at 2 hours now. I'm pet sitting at a friend's house, so I think we're going to wrap it up so I can go feed the pets.
Okie doke. All right, Mike, good talking to you.
But Patrick,
Always a pleasure, dude.
Patrick, what are you doing tomorrow? I'll give you a call.
I'm not doing anything. And I'm not doing anything Sunday, by the way.
Oh, you're not for Easter Sunday? You bad Irish Catholic.
Yeah.
You. You're a terrible Catholic, you Irish bastard. I don't care what you say. But all right, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Mike, are you gonna be up later?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll call you later. I want to talk to you about something. But Patrick, one last thing. I rewatched that Pepsi commercial, and I don't see what you're seeing. I see a lot of white people, kids protesting, and when they walk by her, she takes off her superficial. Don't forget, because they're protesting, and she's at a photo shoot, and she chucks all her stuff to join that. I don't see it as saying
she's the white establishment.
No, I don't see that at all. I see her as throwing away her superficiality of being a model, of posing for photos, and joining something real.
She just happened to be wearing a white wig and wearing very white makeup. Very powdery makeup.
No, I don't see. I think you're reading too much.
Why wasn't she a brunette like she naturally is?
Because they wanted to. Because it's A, for dramatic purposes, where you toss off a wig, and B, they wanted to show you that she's shedding this false identity for something real, which is protesting against a serious cause. Because right after that shot, they show you a black kid getting pepper sprayed in the face. You know what I'm saying? They're showing you that she's getting rid of all this false bullshit, and she's joining a real cause. And that's the way I see it. And then, but giving the cop the Pepsi, a white cop, by the way, no one mentions that. I think they're trying to say Pepsi could promote peace. Which is bullshit.
That's how I took it.
But that's the bullshit part of it. You know, but I don't think she's throwing away her white identity. I think people are reading too much into it.
I'm looking at it now, and I'm not seeing too many white folks.
Well, when you talk about that whole crew that walks past her is practically white.
I'm seeing Muslims. I'm seeing, and I see the Hajib. I see some Asians. I see this guy.
No, when they walk past her in the beginning, that's all white. And when she joins that group, she has a young white kid next to her. It's not. You're reading too much into it because you know why, Patrick? You're a racist.
Yep. I see break dancers. I see everybody's like the camera like stays on.
You're a racist. They're not break dancers. They're multicultural dance representatives. That's what they are. You're a racist.
From the
like, what's the name? Like Mad TV?
I never watched Mad TV. I'm sorry to say.
They weren't that good, but they had this one skit. It's like, remember the '90s? How today's almost kind of like the '90s, redo, and it was all about inclusion and kind of thing. And they had like they had somebody in a wheelchair. They had fat one. Like they had all different kinds of things, and they would make up like these horrible, horrible rap songs that almost made you want to go against their message. That's how bad they were. It It's a good skin.
Oh God.
Okay. All right, I'll look for that on the YouTube. But let
All
me go
right.
feed these
Have a good
pets.
night, fellas.
Let me go feed these pets. You too, Patrick.
All right,
I'll talk to you
dude.
tomorrow. Mike, I'll talk to you a little later.
Okay, man, give me a buzz.
All right, talk to you then.
Good night,
Late.
everybody.
Night, everyone. Kiki.
We gotta come up with some theme music.
I know. If I had more time, I would add to it.
I think I've got something. I'll work on something.
All right. You got it. See you later.